Okay, so we're talking about the reading comprehension portion of the ACT exam. So Craig, if you could read the first thing in the box that says focus on number 1. Focus on summarizing each paragraph. Yes, so we summarize each paragraph. We can't go back. We don't have time to keep going back and reading the paragraphs over and over. So summarize them. And Craig, read number 2. Keeping good passage notes. Exactly. So we want to keep that little passage notes or passage map. We write those little notes on the side by the paragraph like we did in the previous question so that we can quickly refer to our notes instead of having to reread all that text, because that'll burn up precious time and cost us points in the ACT exam. And Nathaniel, if you read number 3, keeping an eye out for keywords. Exactly. So keywords are what? What's an example, Nathaniel, of a keyword? However, for example, the following list, so those words kind of clue us into, hey, something's coming up, something important. So underline those, tick those, underline those so that you can zip back to those when you're referring back to the passages when answering the ACT exam questions. And Joe, read number 4, not getting caught up in the details. And Joe, what does that mean? That means, what would that mean? Not getting caught up in the details. Yeah, there's a lot of reading. They're trying to slow you down, so don't get caught up reading all the jargon. You don't have to know science to get a really good score in the natural science portion. You're kind of doing critical reading. The answer is in the passages there. You don't need to have any extra knowledge. You don't have to be good at science or anything. You just have to know how to read those passages. So, Michael, what's difficult? What's different about these science passages versus say the fiction or some of the other passages? For one thing, we know it's always the fourth question on the exam. So it's the fourth one in the comprehensive reading, the reading comprehension portion. And what else do we know, Michael? There's a lot of technical jargon. There's a lot of words, a lot of stuff in there. So your trick is to read past the jargon and just look for the keywords so you can follow the author's train of thought. Don't get bogged down in the details. So let's move on to prose fiction. Chris, if you could read focus on number 1 under prose fiction. Focus on number 1, the characters. Yes, the characters. One of the things that makes the prose fiction passage different than the natural science passages is that it deals with characters, right? Instead of the science deals with facts, the prose fiction deals with characters. So that's a little different. So it's another it takes a little different approach. And read number 2, Craig. Feelings and relationships. So another thing that you're tracking instead of facts, like with the science one, you're tracking characters, and you're tracking feelings and relationships. And number 3, Nathaniel, read number 3, the author's tone and diction. So you're looking for how the author's writing, whether he's for or against it, his tone in writing, not just what he's writing, not just the facts, but also how he's writing it. What his tone is, the way that he writes about it. So it's always the first passage in the reading comprehension part of the ACT exam, and it's difficult because you're focusing on characters and feelings instead of facts. That's the difficult part, and how they make it more difficult, how they kick it up a notch, is they add a lot of different characters. So they add a large number of characters, a large number of feelings and situations. So it's the volume of characters, feelings, and situations that the authors use to make these passages difficult. So how we get through it is we pay attention to clues on how the characters feel about each other and the situation. So, and then we also pay attention to the diction, how the author says it. What his choice of words, usually adjectives, which indicate the author's tone. So okay, so terrific. Great way to read past all the jargon. Now let's learn how to interpret characters in prose fiction passages. I'll see you in the next video.